What's cooking, my people? My name is Cyblade, and today we're doing something a little different. So, the second half of Season 2 of Record of Ragnarok has finally been added to Netflix. I haven't watched any of it yet, but I am already sure it's going to be amazing. And so I figured to take this time now that there is, the second half of Season 2 to talk about it and explain why you should give it a look. Spoiler alert ahead. So, the story of Record of Ragnarok is the gods have convened after 1,000 years to decide on what to do with humanity after 2 million years of human existence. And the gods have all basically come together and unanimously, I put in quotes because that'll come up later, unanimously declared that humanity's just the worst and they want to get rid of us. Honestly, I can see that. I don't blame them. Look at how bad things are now after only 2,000 years. Imagine how much worse it's gonna get after 2 million years. So, yeah. The gods want to get rid of us, but the Valkyries, led by Brunhilde, the oldest of the Valkyries, has issued a challenge to the gods. Oh, and the Valkyries are apparently half human, half god hybrids, maybe demigods, and they don't exactly say. But they aren't exactly beloved by either side, so for the Valkyries to step up for us is already a big thing, especially since this is basically our last chance. Anyways, so the Valkyries have issued a challenge to the gods, declaring Ragnarok. In Norse mythology, Ragnarok is the war at the end of the world, where everything is destroyed. But here, it's a tournament between humans and gods to basically decide the fate of humanity. 13 rounds, first to 7 wins, humanity fighting against gods. That's already a really cool premise. Humanity going up against gods is insane and really cool. So that's what happens, because Brunhilde goes, "Oh, are you scared?" After the gods were reluctant at first. So, their pride's on the line now, so they gotta accept. So the Valkyries are able to pull out any human from any period in time to go up against the gods. So they pick, ancient historical figures like Adam, the first man, Lu Bu, the flying general from China, Kojiro Sasaki, a legendary samurai, and many more. And, humanity needs a bit of help since, humans on their own cannot 1v1 gods. So the Valkyries actually perform this thing known as Volander, where they merge their souls with the human warrior fighting to become a weapon of their choice. For example, Lubu, a general who rode on horseback, his chosen weapon was a spear. Kojiro Sasaki, ancient samurai, his was a katana. And Adam from The Birth of Humanity chose a knuckle duster. Okay. But beyond that, many of the humans also possess unique abilities. Like, Kojiro Sasaki had the ability to, because I don't know his lore too well in original ancient times, and that's a thing. If you're looking for a one-to-one, like the mythology guy, YouTuber I enjoy, he is not a great fan of the show because one of the reasons, anyways, is that the stories are completely not like how they were in ancient times. So, like, Hercules, the illegitimate son of Zeus, who Hera tried to kill at every waking moment, was actually just a normal human who drank the blood of Zeus to turn himself into a god, or put himself on the level of the gods, to stop Ares from destroying his hometown. And Shiva, again, I don't know Shiva's story, but it is not like what it was in original times. So yeah, if you're looking for one-to-one accuracy in mythology, you're not going to get it. But, that's the thing about media. You get to take special liberties. You can change up a few things. That's okay. If we wanted the original stories, we could go to the original content. But anyways, so Kojiro Sasaki, because he's lost so many fights, he's called history's greatest loser, who had never won a single sword fight in his life. But after he lost every sword fight, he spent all of his time pondering and thinking of how he could train to beat that person and, mentally fought them in his mind, replaying simulations over and over in his head until he figured out all their moves and how to get around them. So that was his thing. He could predict what you're going to do before you do it, and he's basically Taskmaster from Marvel. Adam had the ability of Divine Reflection, I believe it was called, where he can see anything a god does, because the gods made them in their image, so he can do anything they can. So if he sees Zeus throw a punch that is faster than space and time, he can dodge it and do the punch faster than space and time. So yeah, those two things basically put the humans on an equal playing field to the gods. And honestly, that is a really cool idea. I like that these things are able to help humans go toe-to-toe with gods. Being able to take on higher beings is a really neat idea that is not explored too often. And the characters are all really fun. Like, Zeus is kind of basically, he's pretty accurate to real mythology. He's pervy, and he doesn't take anything seriously. Everything's a big joke to him, unless his pride is put on the line, at which point he goes ham and wrecks just about everything. And yeah, there's a lot of cool cameos from all forms of gods. We see Shiva, we see Odin, Loki, Thor, Ares, Hermes, Heimdall. All of them are really cool characters, and they have their own fun little personalities. Just all a treat. And the designs are really cool. We all know, I think when you think Thor, that, you have one of two ideas in your head at this point thanks to social media. You have either Marvel's Thor, Chris Hemsworth, or you have Fat Thor from God of War Ragnarok. And this one has a nice little fusion of the two. It's basically super muscular Chris Hemsworth Thor, but clean shaven. He looks like a pretty boy, super clean shaven, beautiful face, with long flowing red hair, which, Thor is supposed to be a redhead in Norse mythology, so that's accurate. And we all know Mjolnir, right? Small hammer, but a lot of weight behind it. Well, in this one, Mjolnir is almost as big as Thor himself. It's a giant, it looks like it's some kind of futuristic column, technical, mechanical weapon. It looks like it's carved out of marble, but with, electrodes flowing through it. And it's a giant, big thing, I'm sitting down like here, it should be as tall as me as I sit here. So, yeah. So that's a really cool flip on its head from, usually very small, tiny thing to almost as big as a man. That's just the thing, is a lot of gods are really not how you'd expect them. Thor looks like, super pretty boy. Zeus looks like a decrepit old man, but he pulls the Master Roshi. He's a decrepit old man, walks around with a cane, but when it's go time, swells up to the size of the Hulk. Loki looks like he's the creeper of the anime. He's the Hisoka Orochimaru-esque character, always acting like he's kind of turned on all the time. Which, again, if you know original Norse mythology, ain't exactly too far from the truth. And so, yeah, the design's, like, never what you'd expect, and really cool, fun little twists. And, yeah, just a lot of really cool stuff going on. But, like I said, this is a tournament arc where it's a fight between gods and humans. First to get to 7 wins the tournament. So you'd think, okay, we getting 4 or 5 fights a season? Nope. Season 1 had 3 fights in 12 episodes. And season 2, or the first half, had 2 fights in 8 episodes, I believe. So yeah, it's gonna be a while before we get to the end of the tourney. It usually goes something like this. There's 1 to 2 episodes dedicated to actual fighting, but then 1 episode goes to the backstory on each fighter. Yeah, some people might complain about this. They just want to get to the fight. But remember, these are fights to the death. Whoever loses this fight is not walking away from this. So we aren't getting any other chance to get a feel for their character. So yeah, we need that kind of, time dedicated to them. 1 episode seems fair if they're going to be in the show for all of 4 episodes at most. Oh, and another thing people don't like is it seems like every single character has to have a reaction to everything that's going on, so there's a lot of talking in this fighting anime that a lot of people seem to be turned off by. But, have you seen anime? Any fighting anime where there's a big tournament arc? Let's take Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super. Name me a fight where they ain't people talking over just about everything. Vegeta's powering up to fight Toppo. He's powering up! Oh, look, he's powering up! Is he gonna power up so much he dies? Or can he power up enough to beat that guy? Frieza going golden. He's going golden! He's gonna go golden already? He's going golden. How is that gonna change things? That's just how it works. They need to pad the runtime somehow. And yes, I agree they should do that with more fighting, but again, some of these characters are going to die or never be seen again after this point. So we need little bits and pieces to get a feel for them. Because, yeah, a lot of these characters don't show up until the fight where either they're fighting in or they're reacting to the fighters. So, and they probably ain't going to show up for more reactions or another fight because they either going to die in the fight or they just have no standing in what's being said. So, yeah, they don't talk anymore after that. So yeah, they're introducing characters and giving us lines to get a feel for them. That's what you do with characters, especially, ones who you're only giving a little bit of time to. You need to give that time to establish them. The only thing I really will say I don't care for is the animation at times. Now, we're not talking seriously bad animations. We're not talking 7 Deadly Sins or nothing. The really main problems is, one, with Thor's backstory, when we get it, is it's not animated like everything else. It's like drawings of ancient times. It's still images, as if someone, drew this stuff and is holding up one picture at a time. So, yeah, that one was slightly, annoying to watch because you're not seeing things in motion as they happen. You're getting pictures one after another. And the other is the fight between Hercules and Jack the Ripper. Yeah, I bet you wouldn't expect that to be one of the name of a heroic warrior fighting for the continuation of humanity. Well, he is in there, and the fight is good. The fight is not the problem. The problem being here is at one point they like to use CGI for parts of the animation for whatever reason. Like, it looks okay, but also out of place. You know, especially at one point, Hercules goes into his ultimate final form, and that is just straight up CGI the entire time, and is really off-putting. So those are the only two big gripes. The story is great, like the backstories of most of the characters. Like I just said, Jack the Ripper is in this anime, and honestly, he is so well written. I would direct you guys to this video by Nuxanor about Jack the Ripper here and why it's so good. Go check that out when you get the chance. But yeah, they actually make Jack a really interesting and compelling character. He's charming. He puts on this, gentlemanly persona, and he's elegant, refined, and everything. But, he's also a horrific murderer, and they really get the darkness across in a lot of these. Not like certain anime where, where there's this character, the most evil guy ever, or, like, you look away for a minute, he's going to kill you. Like, I mentioned Hisoka earlier. Yeah, everyone says how dangerous Hisoka is, how scary he is. But then, half the time, he either doesn't do anything, or he's just being a creeper, but not really doing anything dangerous. Jack gives off the element of danger Hisoka does, but he's actually dangerous. Like, if you look away for a moment, he is more than willing going to capitalize on something, and you will pay for looking away for that moment. But again, he's also a gentleman, and yeah, he's a smart fighter. He went up against Hercules, known for his strength, just, an overwhelming force, unstoppable object, and Jack is able to catch him off guard. He plays, like I said, the Volander. He's like, oh, this is my Volander, a pair of swords have become a scissor, but Hercules breaks it. He's like, oh, that wasn't actually my Volander. It's this bag where I can throw infinite magical items that can hurt gods. But then it turns out, oh, nope, sorry, I lied again. It's these gloves. Whatever I touch becomes a holy object or a divine blessed object that can hurt gods. And yeah, he really plays to his strengths. He weaves around Hercules, lures him into traps, tricks him at every turn, and it really goes amazing. You're enamored by everything he does. And they go into the backstories, which, like I said, I could honestly believe that this would happen and someone turns out like Jack the Ripper. Like, you could tell me that there was a documentary where they discovered Jack the Ripper's journals, and I would believe that this was his backstory. So his backstory was, he was the son of a prostitute who got, impregnated by a playwright who said, eventually, hey, I'm gonna make it, and I'm gonna come back for you. But she's like, oh, okay. Oh, and she had been, impregnated several times before, but the babies were, she dealt with those. Those pregnancies did not go through because of her actions. But she kept Jack because she's like, okay, so you're going to come back for me? Well, this is going to make sure of it because I got your child. So, yeah, you try to make it big and leave me. Guess what? I can come forward to your child. Basically blackmail. And she showered him with love and everything. So it seemed. But, that was just her taking care of her own interests in the future. It wasn't genuine love for Jack. And, she was a prostitute. She was poor. And she was, in her 30s, which Back then, might as well have been your 60s. So she wasn't making top dollar, so Jack was often scrounging for food for him and his mom in the trash and such, and getting his face caved in by people who didn't like him, scouring through their trash, because even if it is their trash, it's still theirs, and you better pay them for that.
Yeah, 19th century London fucking sucked.
But eventually, his father makes it big and marries a wealthy woman, and so even if Jack's mom brings him out in the limelight now, he's like, hey, I'm still married to the rich bitch, so even if my career tanks, I'm good now. So, yet, she devolved into anger and sorrow and just started yelling at Jack and abusing him, throwing stuff, hitting him with a book and everything. And, Jack has the special power to see people's emotions. So he can read their emotions and read a situation to worm his way into a better situation. So his mother, who used to be a brilliant golden out of love for him, or so he thought, was now a horrible red color. And so, yeah, that's what drove him over the edge. And he killed his mother, and in the fear, as he was choking her out and she was dying of suffocation, she turned into this pure purpley color that Jack fell in love with. So, yeah, I could believe a mentally disturbed person believed they could see emotions and, found a certain color they liked and did everything they could to make people a certain color like that, and targeted prostitutes because they aren't the jolliest people out in the world. They're suffering, having a hard time, so he wanted to make them that beautiful color he likes. So yeah, that is honestly a tragic story. You actually feel for Jack, but you remember, he's still a horrible person, but you can feel some sympathy for him, but it doesn't excuse his actions. But also, his pure charisma and everything, it lures you in. It's enamoring, like I said. So, yeah, it is really interesting that just all these things that should make him, just the most horrible, evil, deplorable person ever, but at the same time, you can't help but be drawn to him and fascinated by him. And then, for the most part, the gods are kind of a-holes, and you're not supposed to like any of them, and you don't for the most part. But then there is one that, comes out of nowhere and surprises you. Like Shiva, the god of destruction from Hindu mythology. He fights Tomemon Raiden, an ancient sumo wrestler. And yeah, his backstory, again, it's nothing like his original backstory, but he grew up at a time when the gods were all at war, trying to be the god above all of them, and while he and his friend Rudra, the wind god or storm god, whatever, were living in a peaceful valley. But then Rudra said one day, hey, Shiva, I have a dream. I want to be the best god ever and stand on the mountain atop all other gods. You want to join me? And he's like, bet. Okay, sure. And yeah, they go through it. They fight all the other gods. They love fighting and having a fun time and just being together. Or that's what Shiva believes. He's doing things with his best friend, having great times that he never wants to end, fighting and dancing because he loves dancing. And yeah, having all this time with his best friend while his best friend's really plotting, okay, we're going to get to the top of the mountain together. But then when we at the top, it's going to be you and me, and I'm going to take you down. I'm going to stand above you too. And so, yeah, that's what happens. They get to the top. Rudra challenges him to a fight, and, they fight for days. They both get bloody, bruised, and beaten, but it's clear Shiva's the one pulling ahead, and, Rudra's losing steam, and, Shiva's knocking him down left and right. He's terrified. He's winning the fight and everything, but he doesn't want to kill his best friend, which is where it looks like it's going right now. So, he's saying, don't get back up. I don't want to kill you, please. he's not enjoying this. He's terrified the whole time, and he even tries to surrender. He's like, okay, Rudra, you got it. But no, Rudra won't accept this. So, yeah, he tells him he's the one above all, and then he dips, he leaves. And so, yeah, Shiva becomes the leader of all the Hindu gods and everything, and he stands above all, but at the cost of losing his best friend. So, yeah, you really feel for the guy. It's sad. And, yeah, he's been an enjoyable character throughout the whole time. He's funny, but also, you can take him seriously. He's not a total goofball, but he has a lot of comedic moments, and he's a cool guy throughout this show as well. And yeah, just all around likable, and his backstory really makes you feel for him more than Raiden's does, in mine and several others' opinions. We see even the gods have some humanity to them, even when most of the other gods were pompous, arrogant a-holes, especially in the case of Poseidon, who, thank God, is the first loss the gods take. It is 2-0, gods 1-2, humanity hasn't won anything, and Poseidon is the biggest asshole ever. Just the most arrogant person you could think of. Take Escanor, Dio, and Black Star. Mix them all together in the ultimate arrogance sundae, I don't know. And that's what you get. Just Poseidon, the grade A asshole, who even gives death glares to other gods when they are cheering for him when he gets the advantage. He says, nah, you're trash, stop cheering. Gods don't need help. Gods don't need armies. Gods don't need cheerleaders. They don't need this. We are perfect. We were made this way. And gods are infallible, invincible beings. And even as he's losing the fight, his arm has been sliced off with his trident in it. He catches it in the other arm and still tries to stab his opponent, Kojiro Sasuke. Sasuke slices that arm off. He grabs the trident in his mouth, tries to stab him, and then he slashes him across the chest. He falls to pieces, and even as he falls to pieces, he still calls him a piece of trash. So yeah, arrogant to the end. And so yeah, all the gods generally nasty. You don't like them, but then we have Shiva, who is the one decent god. And yeah, you're actually, starting to feel sympathy for him. And hey, maybe the gods aren't all as bad as we think. Because even the other gods, or some of the other gods, like Zeus and Thor, who were the fighters before Poseidon. So yeah, even they learn, hey, maybe humanity isn't that bad. Because, they've managed to impress them. Lu Bu, although he lost, he managed to land a solid slash across Thor's chest from left shoulder to right hip. And, scarred Thor, something people thought was impossible. Thor had never been injured in a fight ever before this. And Zeus almost lost. Zeus, he's the ruler of all the gods, the head of all the pantheons, and controller of all of this stuff. And everyone believed he could not be defeated, and, well, he wasn't, but he was taking an L for almost the entire fight. He was up against Adam, who, like I said, had the special eyes and was able to see everything he was doing and perfectly counter or perfectly recreate it, hitting him with all of his attacks and everything. Even an attack, like I said, transcended space and time, but Adam dodged it and threw that exact punch back at Zeus to 180 his head back around. And Zeus was on the ground after this for a solid 4 or 5 minutes. Any other sporting event, that would have been called. But Heimdall was even about to call it, but then Zeus got back up. And so, yeah, Zeus is like, okay, I gotta break out this ultimate form. I don't like to use this, but it's my only choice. And so he horrifically mangles his body and his muscles into this super scrawny but super muscular form, Adamas. And every single hit he throws should be an instant kill. No chance to dodge, counter, anything. And do you know what this form does for him? Do you know what it does for him, guys? Do you know what this ultimate form that's supposed to be undefeatable does for him? Precisely dick. Because Adam is still dodging everything. He maybe takes the hits Adam is throwing at him slightly better, but it is a minor improvement, if anything. But yeah, through all this, Adam's dodging and everything and exerting his special eyes, he's constantly using this power, which everyone should know from any other anime. You use one power too much, it's eventually gonna wear you out, and that's exactly what happens. Adam's neural circuits start overloading. He starts bleeding from his nose, his ears, and eventually he even goes blind after a punch to Zeus's face causes Zeus to bleed, and a single drop of blood falls into Adam's eyes. He goes blind, and is basically over from there. Zeus did all this stuff, but Adam still stood and took all of it and almost even won, but didn't. But Zeus realized in the end, okay, humanity is actually pretty great. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if it got to like 6-on-6. We're at the last round and humanity actually loses, but Zeus said, you know what? Humanity's done so well, they've put up against the gods. They've won 6 fights against the gods. 6 gods have fallen to mere mortals. So humanity has still proven its right to exist. So that's my headcanon. That's where I believe the story's going, but I could always be wrong. And, I kind of hope I'm wrong so that humanity does truly prove it can surpass the gods. It has its issues with the story if, again, you're looking for the story to be one-to-one accurate to mythology, but I doubt everyone is. So if you're not, that's perfectly fine, and you'll enjoy it more. There is some issues with, too much talking, but again, that's in every anime where there's a fighting arc, where there's a tournament arc. Everyone reacts to everything. This ain't a particular problem with Record of Ragnarok on its own. The CGI in that one fight is weird, but they learned a lesson because they never do it again, as far as I know. And it isn't unwatchable, distracting, and other than the backstories maybe taking too long or being uninteresting, very few of them are like this. This is only like 1 or 2, like I said. But, yeah. So, all in all, the story is a real treat to watch, and I would highly recommend it to anyone who thinks they might be interested. That means you, Jordan. I know you've been sleeping on this. That's why I made this video. So, yeah, if you guys think you might be interested in this anime, check out Record of Ragnarok and have a truly divine experience.